So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speaker, you, Ms. Oesit, this morning we are living in a troubled world, and you are absolutely right. We face a situation where underlying strategical shifts and major developments shape our world, like the growing gap between the global south and the Western world, rising competition between China and the US, the increasing impact of climate change everywhere in the world that amplified migration to Europe, and technological revolutions like AI. And we face a world where wars like the Russian ones against Ukraine or the terror war of Hamas against Israel and thousands of innocent civilians in Israel have cost so many lives in the region until today, until to this very moment. One has to understand that these conflicts and challenges happen at the same time in different places on different levels. They are interwoven and they demand a kind of multitasking conflict management. So it's necessary and important to ask if we in Europe and NATO are really prepared to do this, or as you ask, if we are in the need of a new Euro-Atlantic security architecture. In 2022, both the European Union and NATO adopted renewed strategic documents, EU's strategic compass and NATO's new strategic concept. The EU have called the compass an ambitious plan of action for strengthening EU security and defense policy. The compass sees EU capabilities complementary to NATO. It intensifies support for global rules-based order with UN at its core. We, the heads of state and government of NATO, have gathered in Madrid as war has returned to the European continent. These were the opening words of the Madrid Summit Declaration. The summit focused on two main objectives: agreeing further immediate measures in response to Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine, agreeing a new strategic concept to drive alliance adaptation and modernization over the next decade. It's comprised a fundamental shift to deterrence and defense based on three pillars: more forward deployed combat formations, more high readiness forces, more pre-positioned military equipment, stockpiles, facilities in so-called frontline nations. So I think you can say there is a groundwork with which both European Union and NATO have responded to the experiences of the last few years. The Trump administration, a pandemic exposing our weaknesses and interdependencies, but especially the Russian war against Ukraine. But this groundwork is in need for a reality check again and again, and for the ability and the willingness to adapt it smartly and to put it fast into action where and when necessary. Russia, there is no doubt, wants to destroy Ukraine as a sovereign country in order to geographically restore the old Soviet Union. In doing so, Putin's Russia is fighting against values and principles that the West Europe and NATO stand for. He's using a hybrid warfare of both military violence and political destabilization. Therefore, it's so important to guarantee a sustainable security for Ukraine. In my opinion, the only sustainable security for Ukraine is the membership of NATO as fast as it's possible, as well as a realistic and reliable accession perspective for the Western Balkans. The Ukrainian counteroffensive may have been slower than many hoped, but it is far from being unsuccessful. Ukraine has disabled Russian radar and ships on the western side of Crimea. It has thus weakened and pushed back the Russian Black Sea Fleet and created a free passage for ships transporting grain from Odessa. With atoms, it has a precision weapon with which it can attack all Russian staff's logistical hubs between the front and the Sea of Azov. This has two consequences. In addition to the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea region is coming more into the focus, as well as the role of NATO member states there, as Romania, Bulgaria, and especially Turkey. Given that the Black Sea is a region of highest Russian interest, for instance, as its open door to the Eastern Mediterranean, where countries like Libya are serving as Russian bridgehead, the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean may also require even more attention from Greece as one of the most important NATO members. What Ukraine needs now to win the war are large quantities of artillery ammunition, high-range precision weapons as ATACMS or Taurus, and better electronic warfare capabilities. This is primarily a question of production capacities in Europe. The states must do more, for example, through state purchase guarantees. The murderous attacks of Hamas on civilians in Israel and the threat to expand the conflict backed by Iran also have consequences for us. Hamas, like other groups such as IS, want to destroy and erase Israel because it's a Jewish state and for the values and freedom it stands for. So they attack Israel, but also our shared values. And the loud anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, anti-Western protest all over in our cities shows that there is a relevant sounding board within our societies. But what is frightening me, it's far more what is frightening me, it's far more the support from the progressive left and especially the droning silence of so many indifferent citizens. It shows the fragility of our democratic resilience as well. And it's pouring oil in the debates about migration and integration and makes radicals and populists stronger and thus make us weaker. The last point in particular shows that what we need above all is a different way of thinking, a different attitude, more realism, more determination, and ability to act. Maybe, or probably, this is the architecture that we need to change the most and which is the hardest one to deal with, the one in our own heads. Thank you.